start taking off the remnants of this old bracket. It's got a lot of spot welds in it, as you can see, and they're very erratic. Some of them are right on the edge for some reason, so I'm going to try and drill them off, get this bracket off and see what we're left with here. Probably what I'll end up doing is welding a plate under here so we can run some bolts there to have this removable brace in between the shock tower and the firewall. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing this. I've got started on this side already, but yeah, we'll dig into it more, get these brackets that are under here ripped off, get them out of the way. As you can see, they went to town with the spot welder. Very erratic, but I suppose they're not worried when they were building this about me ripping this apart. So it won't matter anyway, because I'll be able to use that for plug welding the new bracket across here. So I'm going to just do one bracket right across with the brackets that are going to the strut towers. They'll be bolted to that. So, and cut a piece now, we'll get it all welded up. Righto, we got the bracketry in there for these removable braces that go in here. Just painted them black, just waiting for that paint to dry. Same sort of thing when I was building these sections down here. Implemented that a whole cardboard scenario for that. So as you can see, the same sort of thing. So it's just reversed, flipped on the other side. So yeah, while we're waiting for that paint to dry, I'm going to split the gearbox off this, and we're going to start installing that new clutch, and then put it all back together and get it back in the car. So because I didn't have any of the bolts for putting the flywheel on, I've gone out and got this ARP kit. That's their part number there. You can see that well enough. So yeah, you can't just use any bolt, obviously, to put the flywheel on. There's sort of a lower profile head on them. So yeah, we'll get the flywheel on, get these in, and get them torqued up to spec. So the beauty with ARP is that they actually put this little text sheet inside the packaging, just underneath the lube. So you don't have to go looking for any of the information. It shows you exactly how to do it, how to go about it. Showing the Loctite that you need to use on the threads to keep it in. The lube's just for underneath the head of the bolt, so that the bolt can actually turn without the friction of the head. You know, to get the correct specs for tightening, and it actually shows how many foot-pounds of torque it takes to actually lock it down. So you don't need to go finding that on the internet and possibly getting the wrong information. They provide it all for you. So that's what I love about this stuff. But also, before we get into this, I've just forgotten, I've skipped a step. Being that this was an automatic car, we've got to get this spigot bearing slotted in the end of the crank here to hold the end of the shaft that comes out of the gearbox. So get that in first, so we're not struggling later on, and yeah, get this all greased up properly and get that in the end of that crank.
A few moments later.
Righto, new clutch all installed. This time around, when I'm putting it in the car, I'm actually going to take off that bell housing, put it on the engine, but leave the gearbox out. It just makes life a little bit easier trying to get it in this car. That's definitely does not help getting it in. Trying to get that angle in to get it back in the car is just, you know, it's on another level. So make life a bit easier. It'll just be a little bit of a struggle trying to get that gearbox in, but you know, they come with an alignment tool, so that's that makes life a little bit easier trying to, you know, get that shaft in there. So yep, get that bell housing off, get that on here, and then we'll start putting it back in the car. All right, cool. Motor's in, hopefully for the last time. I don't plan on taking it out at all. I don't think we need to take it out. Gearbox is in, got the shifter on, coming through the floor. So I do want to dig into these pipes, start making these pipes. But just quickly, I was stuffing around with some radiators. We've got, I bought a radiator that's suited for the car. Now, the problem being is with such a big motor, like radiator is going to be paramount for cooling. As you can see there, just quickly, like that side's even. That's a lot bigger. So this is what would be XP Falcon, and this is XY/XW Falcon. So a little bit more cooling in this one. It will fit, no worries, but to get that air to flow through the radiator itself, unfortunately, we've got to trim up this this radiator support panel. So what I'm currently doing is just cutting just that little bit more out of this to open it up. What I've done is I've actually done that on the other side here already. Just to make a start. We might go a little bit wider than this, but I'm going to cut this part off, and then we have to sort of make a custom bracket to hold the radiator in there. But the wider this opening it is, the more airflow is going to get through that radiator. So I'm going to get stuck into it now, cut this other side out, and then we'll test fit it and see what it looks like. Alrighto, that's probably a better result, just cutting that little bit out. We're probably a little bit bigger than we need to be. I've got to just clean those edges up, things like that, but at least that whole core now is exposed to the car. Like, it's a little bit longer down in there, goes behind this support, but nothing we can do about that because we can't come too high because of the bonnet. We're right at the top of that rad support at the moment, so that's pretty much where it's going to sit. So I'll make up some brackets, because the taper on this radiator support sort of dips in, so I don't know whether I can have it tilted too far in, because the bottom tank will probably sit and rub against this bracing across here. So probably have to make a bracket to sort of space that out a little bit. For whatever reason, it's on a bit of an angle. So we'll get this mounted up. It's obviously got to come back out. I'm going to paint that edge and everything for that. I was able to just bolt it straight in. It's got a little bit of an angle on it, but it's going to be fine. So the reason why I wanted to get it in was just to see that spacing in between the radiator and the water pump. I'm not going to run a mechanical fan on this. I want to run electric fans. So I think it's going to be a little bit too tight, depending on the fan style I get, but we've actually got a lot of room in the front here to actually run a fan or two fans. I'll probably run two fans. I'm not entirely sure, but we've got a fair amount of space in there. So, even if I just run a big one to this side a little bit more, it's not really going to matter. It's got a 3-row core in it, so it's gonna definitely cool fine anyway. So I can go ahead. I'll order that fan in and get that mounted up when we see it. But yeah, no, that's good. At least it's one more thing that I sort of know that's going to work. Also, in the meantime, had a remote oil filter mounting kit from Aeroflow show up. Because of the first port on this head, we're going to be running the exhaust straight down around the front of the engine mount. The oil filter, even the lower profile filter that does fit on these motors, is still fairly round, and it comes right out. So this just gives that little bit more clearance, and kind of looks cool anyway, having a remote filter housing. The kit comes with all the different styles of filters. Like, it will run on just about any motor, the same kit. It's got adapters in there for the center part of the oil filter, and you just figure out which one's yours, and screw that housing on, and then cut up some lines. I've just put the fittings on there for the moment, just to see how much clearance I did have for it. But yeah, we'll get all that mounted later on down the track, and But yeah, next thing is I'm actually going to start having a look at what we can do with these pipes. You know, real tight, but look, we'll make it work. We'll make it happen. And yeah, just at a side note, I actually fluked that this bend here. I don't know what's happened there. I mustn't have seen that before, but I actually sort of fluked this a bit. I literally just pushed it over just that little bit more. It did actually clear that, but I actually fluked where that was actually going to sit. I really didn't think that it was going to be sitting that far over, but yeah, look, everything's been tight on this car. So
3 days later.
I did end up being able to get a thermo fan quite easily for this. Now I have mounted it on the front. As I said, it's probably a bit close to that water pump pulley, so plenty of room on this side, so we'll just keep it on this side. Now I have offset it because the motor sitting a bit proud is sort of going to hit this bonnet bracket. It does clear, but with vibration, things like that, it'll end up rattling on it as we're going down the road. So I ended up mounting it with these zip tie tabs that just go through to the other side. Just puts like a zip tie pad foot on the other side. And yeah, look, it might look a little bit goofy going down the road having it offset like that, but you know, I'm not entirely worried, you know. So I will be getting this out. We've got to clean up these edges and get them painted so they're not raw, and then we can go ahead and hard mount this. Now I did also finish off these strut braces. Now this is not the original plan. The plan was to use sort of like a box type bolt in, you know, because I wasn't actually really sure on how close they were going to be to these rocker covers. Now we have to be able to get these rocker covers off. We're running a solid lifter cam in this thing, so we need to get feeler gauges underneath that. But I'm really happy about how much clearance we've got now. Those rocker covers will come off really easy. And as you notice, I've got an air cleaner sitting on here. This is going to be the air cleaner, but it's not the finished product. We're actually going to fabricate a Sprint style air cleaner for it, which has the ductings coming off it to the front. So you will see that in a future episode. We'll get that built, and yeah, we'll move on to other things. Yeah, so I just want to make it clear off the get-go that, you know, I'm not gonna be doing a one-off video of here I am. I've done the pipes type thing. That these pipes are going to take, I don't know, maybe a couple of months to get done. You know, I've got a full-time job. This is not my full-time job, so getting out in the shed and having you know, a good go at trying to make these pipes is, you know, only going to be sort of dedicated to weekends and that sort of stuff. So, you know, I have been doing little bits and pieces yesterday, trying to see where we can go with getting these pipes run out the back, because it is very difficult. It's not easy, I'm not going to lie. There's two portions of the driver's side head, which is the left side head on this car. The front port and the very rear port is very hard to do. They're going to require some pretty funky looking bends going into there, because I'll get it up in a moment and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But like in the meantime, we'll be doing other things. We're going to be doing interior stuff, you know, and sort of coming back to the pipes. I'm not just going to do pipes flat stick and spend the next 2 months doing pipes, and then you guys aren't going to see a video, you know, for 2 months. So yeah, I'm going to be doing other things at the same time. So, you know, I want to keep the whole car moving, not just dedicate myself to just making pipes and pipes only. So in the spare time, you know, that I've got during the week after work and things like that, we'll be doing other things. So yeah, I'll get this up in a moment. I'll just show you quickly what I'm dealing with, because I don't think I've actually showed you guys where the sort of ports come out on this exhaust and how hard it's actually going to be. So let's get it up in the air. Now, as I said, I was waiting on a few parts to come in. I got to collect a few bends and things like that. I've actually been starting to cut some of these bends up. to try and figure out what we're going to do. As I said, we've got some pretty tight radiuses, and that's sort of the angle that we need coming out of the exhaust port itself. It's, you know, it's a very tight bend. It's got to come out and go down straight away. So I've been mucking around with some other stuff that I've had here, trying to figure it all out. But I did start tacking a bend together. As you can see, it's one of those things where it's a pretty funky sort of setup. But this will be the first port on this side. Now, just give me a second to try and get it up in there. I know it's going to be hard to see on camera, but as good as I can get it, we've got to come out and go around this remote filter housing and then come down. You know, it is, let me try and get a better angle for you guys. It's not really going to work too well with this camera, so, but you know, you can't come straight down because we're going to hit that, you know, that remote filter housing there. So, and then we've got the same issue in the back here. Just let me put this down quickly. You know, as you can see, we're not running much room here. You know, as you can see, we've got less than 3 fingers between the actual flange of the exhaust and the top of this steering box. So this one is probably going to look pretty bad. Like, we're going to have to get some really funky angles to try and get it out as quickly as possible and turn that radius to come down and come out. So yeah, we will be playing with a lot. Like, you know, I still need to get a starter motor in the other side, so we're not dealing with hitting the starter motor. But you know, it's not exactly the hardest thing for a professional. I'm sure there's some professionals that are looking at this going, that's an easy job. But you know, this seriously is my first time. It is my first time doing headers, essentially. Like, I've done pipes, like, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have done, you know, pipes, just extractors back type thing. You know, it's not the hardest thing to do. You know, it's pretty easy if you know the right people to just get the pipes off and stuff like that, and a few bends, and, you know, make it happen. But, you know, I've never built headers, essentially. So it's sort of a trial by fire. I mean, you couldn't have picked a worse car to actually do this on, with so much interference and bad clearance. So yeah, it's going to be fun. But you know, like I said before, I'm not going to dedicate myself to just making one singular video on just getting these pipes done straight away and having them all ready. It's going to take me a while. So in the meantime, we'll be doing other things, but in the background, just letting you know, I will be doing these pipes, and it will come out as a separate video to do these pipes. So, you know, I've got to make them so we can actually get them back out. I want to get them out and send this down to a steering guy, because he's not going to have any ability to have adjustments on that top control arm at any point with the pipes in. He's not going to be able to get to it. So, you know, I want to send the pipes off to get HPC coated. Keeps the heat down, which is good for all that tight clearance, and, you know, keeps a good finish on the pipe. So, you know, as I said, in the background, we'll be doing this stuff, and it will come out as a separate video. But in the meantime, I'll be releasing other videos on, you know, we're going along with some interior stuff, which I'm not going to show you just yet, but we're pushing through with that, and little bits and pieces. You know, I want to get door locks in, boot lock in, and never had a boot lock in it at all. So I've got some of those pieces here to do that, and you know, start getting that dash cluster and stuff, things like that together, you know. So you will eventually see, you know, what it took to get these pipes done, but it won't be coming out anytime soon. It will be towards the end of the build, and I'll show you that video. So, look, I hope you guys like this video. If you did, thumbs up and subscribe. That'd be great. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.